A brief history of Panama's independence. Declaration of Independence. Panama's independence was declared on November 28, 1903. The United States paved the way for this declaration by retracting their recognition of Colombia as the sole power in Panama. However, it took more time to actually gain actual independence, and they were not recognized by any country until 1906. What happened during the process and aftermath? In 1903, Panamanian General José María Obaldia staged a coup d'état and seized control of Panama. He was recognized as president by the United States. In 1904, Colombia sent John Millage, who was on a secret mission to overthrow the government of Panama, but he was discovered and executed for treason. Millage's men shoot him as he attempts to flee. The United States intervened in 1907, and the U.S. Navy bombarded Colombian forces in Panama City and forced them to withdraw from the country. A treaty was signed on October 3, 1912, granting independence to Panama. Under control of a neutral U.S. administration until an election could be held for a Panamanian government. The First Battle of Panama was fought during this period, in which the United States Navy attacked Colombian forces in Panama City. Theodore Roosevelt, who ran on the Progressive ticket, succeeded to the presidency upon McKinley's assassination in 1901. As president, he took a hard line on issues such as civil service reform and antitrust law enforcement. His aggressive approach to foreign affairs in the 1904–05 Russo-Japanese War and the 1906 Revolution in Panama led to a new manifestation of imperialism. Roosevelt pushed for an expansion of the Panama Canal, which Congress finally approved over his objections after he left office, but before work began. He negotiated a canal treaty with Colombia, giving that country control over its side of the waterway. This treaty was ratified in 1903. After he left office, the United States purchased the Panama Canal for $40 million. And in 2007, an agreement was reached to return full control of the canal to Panama by the end of this year. Theodore Roosevelt, 1901–1909, inaugurated 1901, re-elected 1904, resigned 1909. Son of former President Theodore, Tr. 1869–1877, and grandson of former President Franklin D. Roosevelt, 1882–1889. Who signed the Havenovaria Treaty? The Havenovaria Treaty was signed on December 1, 1903 by the United States and Panama. The treaty granted the U.S. a 50-year lease on a strip of land for $10,000 and allowed for the construction of a canal across Panama to connect the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. The treaty was ratified by both countries in 1904, but it did not come into force until February 26, 1914. The Panama Canal was built by the United States and opened in 1914. On November 3, 1979, the Panama Canal ceased to be a waterway linking the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. The Havenovaria Treaty granted the U.S. a 50-year lease on a strip of land for $10,000 and allowed for the construction of a canal that would connect the two oceans. Spanish, República de Panamá, is a country in Central America. It shares land borders with Colombia to the northwest, Ecuador and Costa Rica to the northeast, and Nicaragua to the east, meeting Honduras to the south and French Guiana to the northwest. The capital and largest city is Panama City, which is on the Pacific coast. The country has existed as a state since 1821, though fruition of its Declaration of Independence in 1821 is often given to November 15, 1821, when Panama separated from Colombia and ratified its constitution. The earliest recorded human habitation on the land that would become Panama dates to around 10,000 BC. Panama is a country in Central America, bordering both Colombia and Costa Rica. Panama is known for its natural resources, which include the Panama Canal. The area's highest point is Cerro Incora at 2,466 meters above sea level. Its capital and largest city is Panama City, which is on the Pacific coast. While the population of the metropolitan area is estimated to be around 5.3 million. The official languages are Spanish and English, but there are many indigenous languages spoken throughout the country. In the 16th century, Spanish explorers discovered a pearl-rich bay and named it Panama in honor of this discovery. The country became a British protectorate in 1821 and gained independence from Spain in 1832. It was for decades considered the wealthiest region of South America until its wealth declined after World War II. In 1989, Panama seceded from Colombia and became an independent republic. There is a large Muslim population, primarily of Arab descent. What is the Havenovaria Treaty? The Havenovaria Treaty was signed in 1903 between the United States and Colombia. This treaty was the first to allow for a canal to be built in Panama. Made it possible for the United States to gain control of a large amount of land. The treaty also allowed for the U.S. to build military bases in Panama, which would eventually lead to a US-Panama War in 1903 that led up to Panama's independence from Colombia in 1904. The Havenovaria Treaty was signed in 1903 between the United States and Colombia. The treaty's main points were as follows. 1. The U.S. would build a railway and road to Panama City on the east side of Panama. 2. The U.S. military could occupy any part of Panama if the construction of the canal was not completed by a certain date. 3. Panama would receive $10 million in cash as an initial payment and would be entitled to annual payments of up to $250,000. The US-Panama Canal Treaty was completed on November 18, 1903. The treaty was ratified by the United States Senate on March 19, 1904, and Panama ratified it on April 18, 1904. The treaty was a result of negotiations that began in 1890. Negotiations continued over 2 decades until 1903, when it was finally completed by the US-Panama Canal Company and the Republic of Panama. The treaty specified that Panama would give up its claim to sovereignty in exchange for a railroad line and land grant connected to the canal's operating expenses. Stay tuned for Part 2 of The Secrets of the Independence of Panama, and subscribe to my channel, please.